Welcome to Investigation. I am your host, Hatter, along with my co-host,
Cass and Scoot.
We will be covering West Virginia cryptids today. So something I didn't mention in the first episode because we're a little awkward at this, um, is each month we're going to be covering either paranormal, a cryptid, or a true crime case from a different state. So next month we'll be looking at covering some New York cases, which is going to be exciting. So stay tuned for that. And yeah. So mine, which I'm going to start with since it's kind of probably the longest because I like to ramble, is the Grafton Monster. Grafton is a small town with a population actually of less than 5,000 people. It was originally developed to be a junction point for the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, serving a ton of different branches, and really it was vital for the coal industry of that time.
We're going back to the B&O line already.
The B&O line. The BO line. So, fun fact, Grafton actually founded Mother's Day in 1908, which is really random, but I came across it in my research and was like, no shit.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah. It was also among the first cities to observe Memorial Day, which is cool because I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure Memorial Day was also founded in West Virginia, but it was under Decoration Day at the time.
Huh.
Might be wrong.
Different name, but right?
What?
Is that what? So essentially, it was under a different name first.
Yeah, and then they changed it. If I am wrong, I'll just cut this out of the podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Make it more interesting. Have people do their own research.
No, if I'm wrong, I'll probably just include it in the next episode. So Grafton is nestled in the north central hills of West Virginia, and it embraces the Tygart River, which is where we actually start our story here. So on June 16th, 1964, Robert Cockrell, he was a journalist for the Grafton Sentinel, and he was driving home from his work on Route 119. That road sits along the Tygart Valley River, and it sits between the river on one side and like a cliff and some dense woods on the other side, and it stretches about 3 miles in total. Okay. It was around 11 p.m., but Cockrell was not feeling tired. He knew the road well and was cruising at about 50 miles per hour. As he rounded the bend in the road, his headlights illuminated a 7 to 9 foot tall creature, and that creature was about 4 feet wide. So this thing was a motherfucking fridge.
Oh, wow.
It had seal-like skin, which had a thick sheen to it, and there was no head to be seen.
So just shoulders? Like
just shoulders,
no neck? No
body, no neck, no head. From the pictures, which mostly are based off of when it came out on Fallout, because Fallout 76 is based in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And so they have a bunch of the West Virginia cryptids in there. Grafton Monster is one of them. Those pictures literally just show it like almost like a chimp, where its arms are like dragging across the floor. And it's just like a triangle with arms and legs. Like it's just
sounds a little awkward looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like pictures though where it has like these little sockets where the eyes possibly could be.
Yeah.
But this
I've seen those too, and I think those are just like more fan made, because when I actually found his article and stuff, I'll get into that a little bit later because it's a whole convoluted mess of stuff. But he mentions absolutely no eyes, no face, no mouth, no nothing. It's just body.
So just like a cinder block of just like
cinder block of seal-like skin, which I'm assuming is like blubbery, but still kind of furry, because like seals are actually hairy.
Technically,
yes.
No, they are. They have like fur. Like you can brush them the other way and give them a mohawk.
Yeah.
So Cockrell sped off after glimpsing the thing, and it didn't move as he passed by it. He got home and he like debated on locking his doors, but then he was like, shit, I'm a reporter. That's my job to tell this story. So he enlisted Jerry Morse and Jim Mouser. which are two of his buddies or coworkers, I'm not entirely sure, went back to the spot to investigate, but there was no sight of the monster. They went to the tree line, and they did find like stomped down bushes where the creature had been, but there was no tracks, nothing else. And they searched for nearly an hour, and they found nothing, but the entire time they heard a high-pitched whistle that seemed to follow them around. So they got out of there and debated on publishing the story because they were kind of fearing the ridicule that would return to them because it seemed crazy.
No, it sounds absolutely insane.
Yeah, and especially like in the 1960s, like they were like, well, I mean, we were past the point of witchcraft, but we weren't like exactly evolved at that point, you know?
Fair
Get
enough.
the pitchfork and torches, guys!
Yeah, like. So they did end up publishing it about like a day or two later, but instead of ridiculed back, they received numerous stories of similar sightings. As high as 20 people claiming to have seen this creature. People from all over began pouring into the town to track down this monster. The local law enforcement agencies actually took no official notice of the reports. Basically, it seems like they just either didn't believe it or they were simply not pleased with the influx of people trying to hunt down the creature. Now, with that being said, the monster hunt did hit the town hard. The town actually started to become so overwhelmed that by 10 p.m., cars would be bumper to bumper on the road, and a large number of them were even like trying to pull off to the side to let more of the cars pull up and pull in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It kind of got so bad that the Sentinel ended up recanting the story, saying that it was a fantasy, and encouraged people to go home. They claimed the story was basically to kill time, inspired by the recent story of the Michigan Monster, which was a Bigfoot-like creature that had been gaining publicity recently. And they claimed that what Robert saw was actually just someone pushing a bunch of boxes on a handcart.
What? Nuh-uh.
What?
Yeah. So, according to Monsters of West Virginia, that's a book written by Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and that says that Robert didn't give up even as the sensational story died out. He actually found reports of this creature from before his sighting, as far up as Morgantown, which is about 26 miles away from Grafton. Guiley speculates that an article published in 1952, talking about the Flatwoods monster, is actually the earliest sighting of the Grafton monster. I was able to find the article. It was published by the Beckley Raleigh Register, and the article states, quote, "'Tis said that the Flatwoods monster has moved on to Riley County. Miss Earl Hutchinson called to inform that she had seen a shiny something hovering in the sky. She thought it was a man in a parachute, but when it kept swinging back and forth and jumping up and down, she figured it was the Flatwoods monster en route to Beckley. Quote, 'Twas a big white thing resembling a washtub, but not being Monday, Miss Hutchinson knew that Ol' Sol wasn't hanging out his dirty linen." End quote. Just what made me laugh, because it just shows like the 1950s of it all. It's just funny.
The 1950s language.
Yeah. As we know, the Flatwoods monster, which I think, Scoot, you're actually going to talk about that one, right?
Very ironically, yes.
Yeah, so
and
not to steal your thunder a little bit, but we know it's like an alien-like creature.
Mm-hmm.
So the article said it was a large white thing resembling a washtub. The initial reaction to me is that that's not the Flatwoods monster, because it sounds like the Grafton monster, a big white box-like creature. But when you really dig into it, the sighting was first in the sky, like she thought it was a parachute, which doesn't make any sense with the Grafton monster.
No.
Because if we're basing it off of the one sighting, this big boxy creature with no head, I really couldn't imagine it could even climb something, let alone be flying somehow in the air.
Flying in the air, like...
Yeah, moving
no.
around back and forth, it just... But also, if you look up a washtub in 1952, it's like a 2-foot by 2-foot galvanized steel tub. Like, it's not some big thing.
It's nowhere near big enough.
Yeah, no. And that's also not including that Beckley is 155 miles away from Grafton. Granted, this is a few years earlier than Cockrell's sighting, but it still seems unlikely that it could have migrated that far. It just doesn't really fully line up for me, at least. Following his sighting and the town's popularity eventually dying down, Robert Cockrell contacted Gray Barker, a Clarksburg researcher of UFOs and the paranormal. Barker set up to interview Cockrell and published the article. Although the article never saw publication, its unfinished file is stored at the Clarksburg Public Library. Now, Guiley's book says that the article goes on to say that Barker has speculated for some time that these beings that are being seen are actually interdimensional species. And it was basically the Grafton monster was a probe sent to Earth to test the effects of the Earth's environment on them. Like if the US would reach a possibly inhabitable planet, we would send out like chimps or dogs or something, bring them back on and test what effects that atmosphere had on them.
Yeah.
He's speculating that these type of cryptids that we're seeing are that equivalent. The Clarksburg Library has a collection of papers and information that Gray Barker held, and I dug through the correspondence that were listed originally, and I couldn't find anything between Cockrell and Barker, so I actually sent them an email, and I was like, this is what I'm looking for, and they sent me all of the correspondences back.
Wow.
And yeah, it was super cool. I was like, hell yeah, you guys
Yeah.
rock.
Right, yeah. Wow, kudos to Clarksburg Library.
Yeah. So there is like the original correspondence of Cockrell's story that he sent to Barker. It's that correspondence that people, including the story I just told you guys, reference because it's sensational, it's dramatic, it marks all the I's and dots the T's. That was a joke. I know I said it wrong. But are you guys ready to have some heartbreak?
Ooh.
Hi.
So in my research, I found that the Taylor County Public Library has an article from the Mountain Statesman, which was originally the Grafton Sentinel. And it says this, quote, "The Grafton monster would have turned 50 years old in June of this year. It was a good old monster. The description was vague enough to give folks something to chase on a warm summer evening. It came into being on a dark night of June in 1964 as an unexplained shape by the side of the road. It was fleshed out by the rumor mill, dressed up and sent on its way with each new telling of the tale. The Grafton that gave birth to the monster was a much different place than the Grafton of today. It was a close-knit community where most people knew each other because they all worked, lived, went to school, and played in the same town. It was a great place to grow up and a great place to live. Tell a story at Biggie's or Tasty Freeze and you would hear it back in about an hour at Malone's drugstore or the Dairy Queen, and it might even still bear some semblance to the facts contained in the first telling." The 17-year-old part-time reporter for the Grafton Sentinel told his friends what he thought he saw in the dark on Riverside Drive, and by the time he heard the story repeated back to him by another friend, it had become a full-blown monster and the hunt was on. In the light of day, the monster was most likely a fixture on the Grafton roadways, a local character by the name of Tommy Peters. He could be seen riding his bicycle all over town at all hours of the night and day, and he always had it loaded down with his finds for the day. On the night of the monster sighting, he was pedaling down Riverside Drive in the dark without a light, loaded down with boxes pulled high on the back of his bicycle. Approaching him from behind at highway speed, all you saw would be a large, dark shape moving between the road and the river. Now for the article in the Grafton Sentinel. The young reporter told his editor what he initially thought he saw and how that sighting had taken on a life of its own. The editor, Tom Russell, a great guy and journalist with a lifetime of experience in newspaper and an eye for news, saw the story for what it was. Not a sensationalized story about a make-believe monster, but a real news story about what local people were doing as a result of the story of a monster. And that was the story that the reporter had to research and write, and the story that he published. Several days later, a follow-up story was published pointing out the danger of all the people coming to Riverside Drive and the chance of someone getting hurt, along with the report that the monster was likely just the shape of someone pushing a cart of boxes down the road at night. The monster will not die. Every so many years, someone digs the story back up, adds non-existent details, sends it back out the door. In 2012, a paperback was published entitled Monsters of West Virginia by Rosemary Ellen Guiley. The first chapter of the introduction is titled, you guessed it, The Grafton Monster. The quotes attributed to the young reporter were never made. The majority of what the book said happened after the sighting is pure fiction, and the so-called investigation by the reporter never happened. But why mess up a good monster story with the facts? The TV show on the Grafton Monster was even worse, and it gives West Virginians a public relations black eye to boot. The fact is, there is no Grafton Monster. There never was a Grafton Monster. How do I know for a fact? Because I am the young reporter 50 years removed from the birth of this monster. Requisite in peace, old monster, Robert R. Cockrell.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So this...
Wow.
I'll give you a minute, let it settle in, right?
Yeah.
So this calls out the book that I had referenced earlier, which I want to point out that I don't think that that's on the author at all, because I was also sent the correspondence from the library, the correspondence that she used in her book, the correspondence that proves there was letters sent between Cockrell and Barker. So I have to say that Gray Barker has been called out several times on being deceitful. So does that mean that Barker made up this letter in order to get his hands on the story and kind of create a spot for himself in a story that he had no part of being in? Even in his response written about Cockrell, he even claimed to interview the man. But he spelled his name wrong each time that he referenced him. He spelled it with like a CH.
Oh.
And I'm like, I looked at the signature on the original letter from Cockrell to Barker. And the signature that is on there, I could see how it could be looked at as a CH. But then if you went to interview the man, wouldn't that be cleared up? Like, you're talking to somebody and somehow you're still getting his name wrong?
Yeah, wouldn't you make sure you have spelling correct? That way it doesn't look, well, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like all the other letters too, like half of them were typed out and he spells his name in them as Cockrell. So why are you still calling him Cottrell with a CH? Like, that is strange to me.
Very suspicious.
A little bit.
Yeah. But we're kind of now like stuck in this weird point where it's like, I have proof of both the sighting happening and the same reporter saying that the monster is made up. So does all of this prove the point of the editor in the original story? Like, they wanted to focus on how the public would react, and everyone did exactly that. In reality, they kept pushing forward a story that was false until it was spinning wildly out of control. What started as an unexplained shape now spiraled into this creature, like I said, that's even made it into Fallout, like a massive video game.
Yeah.
2 years ago, someone posted on Reddit, back in 1995, my ex and I were driving from Langley, AFBVA, I'm not sure exactly where that's at, to Columbus, Ohio. We were on 33 between Harrisonburg, VA, and Elkins, West Virginia. Very Appalachia, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
To our right, just off the highway, and in the forest, there was something very large and gray moving parallel to us. We only saw it for a moment, as I was probably doing 80 miles per hour. We didn't get a good look at it because it was obscured by some trees and I was speeding. But it looked like the side of an elephant. No head, just this big gray body walking. And I said to my ex-wife, "Did you see that?" And she replied, "What the fuck was that?" We were both shocked. I've seen strange things before and since, but nothing tops that. I haven't thought about it in probably 10 years, but I was talking to my wife and son this morning about weird things, and it came up. I googled West Virginia cryptids, found the Grafton Monster. My memory is fuzzy, but this is close to what I saw. So, the Grafton Monster, is it a rumor? Is it fact? I don't know personally what that person saw, but that sounds like the Grafton Monster.
Close to it, yeah.
Like a big gray thing with no head. That's exactly the description of it. So we're still stuck in this is there, isn't there kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, as like investigators, we have to go where the facts takes us, which I would currently say is what the reporter said. Like, there is no Grafton Monster.
Yeah, that this was something blown way out of proportion.
Yeah. That still doesn't explain the correspondence between him and Gray Barker. Was that made up? Was that not made up? If it wasn't made up, why would he take back his story? Who knows? Yeah, that's the Grafton Monster, or lack thereof. And like I said, I can show you guys all of the correspondence that they sent me. I'll probably post it on our like social medias for people to look at too.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty weird. Like I still really have no way to call it.
No, it could go either way. I mean,
yeah,
it really could.
But like, there hasn't been any other sightings. Like,
yeah, was that the last one they said was 1995?
Yeah, but that's not even like for sure the Grafton monster.
Yeah.
They just said that they saw something weird, and I was like, well, that does sound like it. But other than Cockrell sighting, there is no other sightings of the monster. Even the like 20 some odd people who said that they saw it in the correspondence between Cockrell and Barker, Cockrell was like, yeah, some of them I was able to verify, and then others were basically made up. Where are we at? Like, I'm confused here. It's very weird. It's very interesting. But the fact that there has been no other like official sightings of it since the first one is a little suspicious.
It is very sussy.
Yeah, because like even with the cryptids that we're about to go over too, it had multiple stories of sightings all throughout the years. For the Grafton monster to not have that, it really makes you think, was this just an exaggerated rumor or something? Like,
yeah, exactly like you said. You couldn't explain a shape on the road, and the town twisted it into something way bigger than it ever was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think actually, ironically, we're going to segue into the Flatwoods monster, right?
So we are going to start in the small town of Flatwoods, West Virginia. And just as a reference, in 2023, it had a population of 404 people.
That's small.
Oh.
I was like, Grafton's a pretty small town. It's only got 5,000 people. And you're like, bitch, I got you beat.
All right, we are going to start in September 12th, 1952. 3 young boys, Edward May, Freddie May, and Tommy Heyer, were playing on the lawn of the Flatwoods Elementary School. Suddenly, a bright light streaked across the sky overhead and appeared to crash on the hillside, which was like a farm. The 3 boys ran to grab Edward and Freddie May's mother. She was accompanied by the kids, 2 other neighbors, Neil Newley and Ronnie Shaver, and West Virginia National Guardsman Eugene Lemon, and a dog to investigate.
And a dog.
And a dog. It is.
And a dog.
All of my sources said a dog was there.
Hell yeah. So specific, but I love it.
The group approached the top of the hill where the fireball had landed. Beyond the hill, they report seeing a pulsating light. Then suddenly, 2 powerful light beams pierced through the darkness, and one of them turned their flashlight. Man,
we're not good with the flashlight word. Last episode, you said they used their flashlight as a phone.
Yeah, well, I didn't finish the sentence, but I almost did.
And one of them turned their flashlight in that direction. They saw a large man-like creature that stood about 10 to 12 feet tall and 4 feet wide. So big. The creature had a red face and bright green clothing, which hung in like folds below the waist. So a dress.
It was in a dress.
It was in a dress.
He was setting fashion trends way before it was even...
way before his time.
Yeah.
Now its head was shaped like an ace of spades. The creature's hands were twisted and clawed, and it seemed to have eyes that glowed like an eerie orange color. There was almost like a sickening metallic odor emanating in the area.
Gross.
Now, it made no sound at first, and then it started hissing as it floated towards the group.
Yikes. That's terrifying.
And so the group just ran off in terror. Obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Valid response.
Yeah. Right. You know, the more logical response. Rather than in horror movies when they run towards it.
Or like in horror movies when they are running towards the front door and then they're like, actually, I'm gonna go upstairs.
Right? It's like the ones, it's like those ones when they just run into the door and then just do a U-ey go up the stairs.
Now, reportedly, some members of the group suffered from throat irritation, vomiting, and nausea, which I just would like to point out, exposure to mustard gas kind of produces a similar symptom, just to keep in mind. Now, the incident was reported to the local authorities, and they went to the site that night, and there was nothing there except for the smell. Now, later, when they went back, there was 2 large skid marks and trampled grass, and that's it.
Okay. So did they originally go back at night, you said? And
That's-
that's why maybe they didn't see the tracks at first?
Probably.
Okay, that makes sense.
Several days before the event in Flatwoods, a woman named Audra Harper, who lived about 5 miles north of Flatwoods, was walking through the woods near her home with her friends, and they saw a ball of fire on a hill, which just got dismissed as like a farmer, like burning something in his field. Now, when she glanced back, the fire had vanished, and in its place stood a tall, dark silhouette of a man-shaped figure. Now, on September 13th, a young couple was driving on a rural route 20 miles south of Flatwoods, where their car broke down. George and Edith Snitowski were with their 18-month-old son. It was nighttime and the road was deserted. Suddenly, they smelled something like sulfur, and a bright light filled the sky. When they looked up, there was a 10-foot-tall monster hovering in front of them. Now, it apparently had a very similar description to what was seen in Flatwoods. The only difference was instead of having the ace of spades shaped head, it was the head of a reptilian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess if it's supposed to be like an alien monster, they can change their form.
I guess. I was also
Right.
wondering if were like articles published of the original sightings, the first one or the second one, or was this all happened basically same exact timeline?
This is a very similar timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the articles were already like published and it got out, I was like, maybe somebody started making up sightings type of thing. But if it's happening very close together, then that's more.
Yeah, because it was literally the next day after what was
Yeah.
seen in Flatwoods.
Okay, yeah. So there's no way for like newspapers to really publish that fast.
Yeah, it's like
And
it
even if
would've
they
been-
did, I can't imagine that specifically those people would have got it and turned it around in another day and then also made up a story about
Well,
it.
you
Like,
know,
that's crazy.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
that's way too soon for any of that to happen.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Oh, no, you're good. The creature had touched their car before drifting back into the woods. And then the vehicle suddenly started again.
So, a reptilian blessing?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way of putting it.
I said, my bad, guys. My bad.
Right.
G. I got you.
Now, there's been no other sightings since
And when was this again?
1952.
That's the same exact year that I just said there was a possible sighting. Like, somebody thought the article that I had found with Mrs. Hutchinson.
Yes.
Huh. Spooky.
It's very spooky.
Yeah.
Now, the local police immediately dismissed the story as just being hysteria. Now, there are some theories that the flying object that was seen was most likely like a meteor, and the pulsating light was like an aircraft beacon. September 12th, 1952, a meteor was seen across 3 states: Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Oh.
Now, as for the monster itself, it's theorized that they could have seen a barn owl sitting on a tree stump.
Okay.
Make that make sense.
I'm gonna go a
I
little
guess.
further. I'm gonna go a little deeper. Hold on.
All right.
okay.
Okay, cool.
So, barn owls have heart-shaped heads to begin with.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
some people suspect that, the like leaves and the underbrush could have been confused as like the strange green clothing, and that the hissing sound they heard could have been like the startled call of the owl. And if you mix that with just initial fear, you're going to go investigate something that was flying in the sky. And a mixture of effects of possible meteor gas. There you have a possible sighting of a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
I could understand. That just seems like a lot of coincidences that
Yeah,
have to
like-
line up perfectly.
Yeah,
to
like
do that.
it seems kind of like far fetched for covering something
Like
up. Like
a meteor falls and you go and you look and there just so happens to be an owl on a very tall tree stump with a very specific set of underbrush that
yeah.
looks like a man wearing a dress. That's a lot of perfect coincidence.
Right? Like
Very
Not
true.
saying it couldn't happen, but
yeah, but to like happen that many times as
well,
well.
it's just the once, right?
Talking about the initial ones.
The initial
Oh,
one.
okay.
Mhm. This could have been the site of UFO landing. Or some people do speculate that this could have been like a government experiment that just got out of control.
Valid.
That
I'm all for
that would
those
make a lot of sense.
I'm all for those conspiracy
Yeah.
theories.
Area
That makes a lot more
51, right?
sense. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense than a barn owl on a tree stump.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too.
Yeah,
honestly.
like I mean, even if someone wasn't fully into the whole alien thing, that would still make more sense than the
Yeah,
owl.
some type of governmental experiment,
Yeah.
like, gone wrong.
And that's about all I got for you guys. Kind of short and sweet for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's gonna be kind of short and sweet too. I do know that there is actually a little bit of a difference between those because you guys said that there was only one main sighting or like a few, and it's just stopped after that. Well, the interesting thing about mine is that it is actually still pretty current. There has been multiple sightings throughout all the years. So we're gonna dive right into it then. So I am covering the Ogua cryptid.
Ogua.
Ogua.
Yes, I did Google how to pronounce it, and it did say you have to enunciate the middle part, gua. It's like, so it's Ogua.
Is that a Native American word?
Yes, it's in here.
Oh, sorry. I'm jumping the gun. I'm stealing your thunder.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, it makes sense. It really sounds like a Native American
Yeah,
name.
well, and I just did all that research on the Shawnee, so I was like, it very fits, like, time frame.
Yeah, which ironically, I will say something in here too. Kind of something
gonna
about
shut
the
up now.
Shawnee. No, it's just a nice little fun fact that it kind of ties our first episode together too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The Ogua cryptid, also known as the Rivesville monster, named after a town along the Rivesville River, and Holt monster, is said to be a freshwater cryptid inhabiting the Ohio, Allegheny, and Monongahela rivers between north-central West Virginia and southwestern PA. The name Ogua derives from the Native American tribes who originally inhabited the region, such as the Shawnee.
If I just kept my mouth shut,
You would have found out.
You would have found out right there.
whoops.
But yeah, and ironically mentioned in our first episode.
There you go. There you have it.
Yep. So it's the Shawnee and Delaware tribe. The name roughly translates to river demon or water devil. The Ogua's origin comes from the prehistoric times where giant turtles roamed the area it was generally sighted in. It has been stated that the creature resembles a gigantic turtle or alligator with rough, scaly skin ranging from dark green to reddish brown in color. It can get to be 20 feet in length and is said to weigh up to 1,500 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a heavy guy.
Hefty.
Yeah, there have also been reports depicting it with two heads.
Ooh.
Yeah, I actually saw a picture of one of the ones with the two heads. Look kind of creepy.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anything with two heads is a little bit strange.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
exactly. And it made it even worse though that like it's said to have like the heads or it's said to be like snapping turtle heads. And I don't like snapping turtles already, even with their normal. Like I love turtles, just not the snapping turtles or this turtle so far in my research.
Valid.
So in my research, I have found that the eyewitness descriptions do seem to be pretty consistent, and it will be kind of explained a little later as I keep. Though it lives in the water, it can come onto land if it so wishes, and has been known to crush a deer whole.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the deer is its main food. In my research, I noticed a lot of people with their sightings have mentioned that they just saw it lunge out of the water and just crush the deer whole, like I just mentioned, and just go right back into the water. Yeah, so like
Terrifying.
thankfully the deer were its main prey
And not people.
and not people. Yes, but there were. We'll get to. I do have a story here about the first sighting. Like I think it was actually the first sighting, but it was a person.
Well, in a regular snapping turtle, their bite force, it's so many more times than their body size,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine you times that by 1,500 pounds
Yeah.
and what that would be able to do.
Yeah, so I'm not really surprised that it could crush the deer whole in
Yeah.
one snap. The Ogua is often described as being highly aggressive and very territorial, attacking anything it thinks is a threat or just its prey. The creature has the hunting strategy of lurking beneath the water near the shore, lying in wait for an oblivious animal or person to come within its range. It then would lunge with impressive speed and seize the victim in its mouth and dragging it down to its imminent watery death, as I
Cool.
kind of explained earlier with the deer. And actually, going back to that too, this next part where there are many reports and rumors about its lair, with chilling stories about how the creature would drag its prey back down to its underwater den, where it stores and consumes the bodies at its leisure. This speculation has resulted to dark rumors of gnawed bones and half-eaten carcasses lining the riverbed.
Spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, the first sighting.
Ooh.
The first sighting was reported all the way back in 1745 in Holt, West Virginia. According to witnesses, a 12-year-old boy was fishing with his family on the bank of the river when the Ogua appeared from the water, seized him in its jaws, and pulled the boy into his watery grave, never to be seen again.
Ew.
Yikes.
Yeah. Since that tragic day, many reports of the Ogua monster have been made all over Marion County, but none of them were as tragic as the first sighting or had the same outcome, thankfully. For example, the most recent credible sightings involved two Fairmont fishermen, Nate Moreno and Jake Byers, who reported seeing a large, unknown creature in the West Fork River around 2019-2020 range. Described as a 10-foot plus, fast-moving reptilian thing with a large tail, matching local legend of the Ogua from Marion County, though no confirmed sightings have occurred since their encounters. So
Still,
it
though.
dates all the way back to 1745 and is consistent at least all the way up to 2020.
I feel like that's the most credible of the two cryptids or three cryptids
Yeah,
that we're
I would
reading.
say,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, because like I said, it has most of the sightings, and most of them have been like pretty consistent with the description of what it looks like and what it does,
Yeah.
or like what they've seen it do. Which luckily, most of them were just like them seeing it in the river or just snatching a deer. Really, the only tragic time of it actually killing a person was the first sighting,
Yeah.
with the 12-year-old boy. So
Well, and I feel like that could maybe relate to like sharks. So sharks will basically only attack humans. A lot of times it's when they're surfing because from underneath a human on a surfboard looks like a seal.
Yes.
yeah,
And so I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like
yeah, I
it was
mean,
basically thinking that this little boy was a deer from its size or
yeah.
whatever like that.
And which it probably did because like it did say that it's very aggressive and like territorial. And then
Yeah.
like its prey is usually on the river bank.
Yeah.
So like it easily could have mistaken the boy for a deer
Yeah.
or just thought he was invading its territory.
Which is fair. Not fair, like, but
Yeah.
valid for an animal to react that way.
Yes.
Yeah. This was another fascinating added tidbit here that I found, which also coincides with when you first started with your Fallout 76.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ogua was actually implemented in the game Fallout 76.
There you
Which,
have it.
yep. Which, as we already know from you going first, focuses on the state of West Virginia. And the player would often encounter it in the river zones and in the seasonal events like the Fashionat Parade.
Huh. That's cool.
That is neat.
Yeah. I think it's very cool. I do love turtles, but this is not one I'd want to encounter, and I will not be swimming in any rivers anytime soon.
I would like to see any of these cryptids, but like
From a
safe
distance,
place.
right?
Yes.
From a safe distance away.
Like-
Like me, I'll be like in the middle of the land, and I'll just see it far enough away because, like, with it being like 20 feet long and stuff, I'm like, you can see it from a good distance. Yeah.
Now, I would say, like, out of the three cryptids, yours seems to be probably the most probable.
Yeah.
I mean, they've more recently just discovered giant squids.
Yeah.
Why couldn't there be giant turtles?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
there
right,
also were like megalodons.
Yeah.
Like those were legit
they
sharks.
were,
Yes.
they were legitimate dinosaur era sharks.
Yeah, prehistoric.
Yes, thank you. I could
You're
not
welcome.
remember. I could
I
not think of the
saw
name.
the wheels turning.
Yeah. You did. Yes, thank you.
But yeah, I really like learning about those. I think I've heard a little bit about the Flatwoods monster
Mhm.
before,
Mhm.
but I've never heard about Ogua.
Ogua. Yeah.
Ogua.
Ogua.
Yes. So that was super
Enunciate the
cool.
goo.
And even I didn't know a ton about the Flatwoods monster.
Yeah, it's like,
so.
I mean, I have heard, like you said, with you too, I've heard of some cryptids here in West Virginia, like obviously Mothman. I did kind of hear about the Grafton and Flatwoods, but it was mainly just people mentioning it. They never went into detail about what the legend was, but I never heard of the Ogua, so this was a fun one to research because
Yeah.
like it was all new information.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully our next couple episodes, my nose won't be stuffy anymore. That would be cool.
Fair enough.
Both this one and the first
Yeah.
one, I'm like trying not to sniffle in people's ears. But yeah, so keep investigating and catch us next week when we talk about West Virginia haunted cemeteries. And in the meantime, love you guys, I guess. I don't know how to close these out yet. This is only the second episode.
I don't know either. I'm just as lost as you are with it.
Keep rocking, motherfuckers. Bye.
Bye.
See you in the next one.